All right, so let me start this show off by telling you guys a little bit of a story. When the company that Mike and I wrote for, the Sports Network, got bought out back in February by Stats LLC, I interviewed for a position with a guy by the name of Brian Orefice. Brian played some college ball back in the day as a linebacker for Columbia University, and his linebackers coach at the time, a spry, energetic, 31-year-old fella by the name of Charles Edward Kelly. So yeah, all this talk about Chip being an offensive guy, but he actually started his career as a defensive coach. So who says Chip doesn't know defense? Look at this defense right now. Top 5 in the NFL. And that's not crazy talk. Let's bring in Mike. He's here. Mike Owens is here. I'm Adrian Fedke. We're here to break down this Carolina game. And, you know, I know all the talk in Philadelphia. We love to talk about Sammy Sleeves and the offense and, you know, the ongoing process that it is. But this defense is not getting enough love. It's the city of brotherly love. And let's show them some love today on this show. What do you think, Mike?
It's about time that we show the defense some love, and this is a fitting week to do it because going into this game against the Panthers, the undefeated Panthers, that is, in Carolina on Sunday Night Football, Eagles are going to have to win this game with a solid defensive performance. And right now, the Eagles' defense is carrying this football team. And before the show, we did some calculations, and we were quite stunned ourselves on how great of a job Chip Kelly has really done, turning this defense into one of the top defenses in the NFL. And we're being serious here. I mean, you look at this roster right now, and out of the guys that are starting at the current time, 6 of them are Chip Kelly guys, and only 5 of them are guys that are left over from Andy Reid. And most of the guys that are starting right now for Chip Kelly are either guys that he drafted or guys that he acquired in the offseason. So what he really did, too, was he revamped the secondary. Chip Kelly did a really nice job early on in his tenure here, getting a solid front 7, especially a solid defensive line. But what he really worked on in this past offseason was getting a good secondary. And he took a little bit of a gamble with Walter Thurman playing safety, which has really paid off for him. And he took gambles with Maxwell and Carroll, who are both paying big dividends right now.
Yeah, I mean, let me ask you guys a question. All the people that listen to this show, that watch this show, go ahead and list your top 5 Eagles for this season. You can even go top 10 if you want. So say your top 5, you have, Fletcher Cox number 1, whatever, and you keep going down the line. And the thing that I want you guys to do is to find out when you actually have your first offensive player in your top 10. Because for me, I mean, top 5, I went top 5 really quickly and no offensive player in sight. So if you look, again, I've made this point before, but if you look at the offseason again, the big master plan of the scientists going to work was to build a juggernaut on defense and let the scheme take care of the offense. And we're kind of seeing that. You bring in Byron Maxwell for the secondary. You bring in Kiko Alonso in the trade for LaShawn McCoy. Obviously, he's been hurt and all that stuff. But the premise of what Chip's trying to do, he's trying to build a good defense and let the scheme take care of the offense. And unfortunately, the offense isn't really clicking, so to speak, as much as Chip would probably like it. But the defense has been outstanding. I mean, top 5 in the league. If you look at Pro Football Focus, I'm not big on them or anything, but Pro Football Focus right now says that the Eagles are the 3rd best defense in the NFL. Unbelievable.
Well, the big reason for that right now is takeaways. And the Eagles are doing an outstanding job of getting turnovers. The Eagles have a goal every week on defense, and that's to get 3 takeaways. Well, the past few games, they've been achieving that goal, and in some games, they've even been surpassing it. And really, the key guys are, Walter Thurman and Nolan Carroll in that secondary. Those are the guys that are really coming up with the key takeaways right now. So, and the other guy that, really deserves a lot of love, and we should give Chip Kelly some credit for this one, because when the Eagles drafted him, it was kind of out of left field. I mean, no one knew who this guy was. No one really expected him to do anything this season, but that's Jordan Hicks. I mean, with the injuries to Kendricks and Alonzo, I thought we were in big trouble at the middle inside linebacker position. But Jordan Hicks has really came in here and stepped up, and he's playing like a veteran right now. And in a way, he's kind of saved that inside linebacker's position.
Yeah, we'll get back to our defense in a second, because if you look at what the matchup is this week, it's Cam Newton against this Eagles defense, and how are we going to stop Cam from getting at least 20 points on our defense? Because you got to think, if you want to win this game, you got to hold them to under 20. So let's look at the Panthers right now. They are 5-0 on the year, but if you look at who they've played, they haven't played anybody. The combined record of their opponents is 9-20. They did just beat Seattle on the road. Seattle, however, is not playing good football right now. Their offensive line is a mess. It's a lot of the same Seattle that we saw last season to start off early in the year. So you're not getting a 100% Seattle team right now. If you look at the other opponents, who is it? They've played Houston. They've played Tampa Bay. They've played New Orleans without Drew Brees. And who else have they played? They haven't played anybody. So it's hard to really gauge how good this team really is. So what do you think? Overrated? A little bit? What are you thinking?
Did you have the Jaguars in there?
Jaguars! Yes, they're always forgettable in the NFL landscape. So Jacksonville, Tampa Bay, New Orleans without Drew Brees, and Houston. So that's not a good quartet. Yeah, you beat Seattle on the road, but I think they're overrated. I think the Panthers are overrated. They are this year's Dallas. I think they're going to win a bunch of games because they got an easy slate. But when it comes to the playoffs, I don't know. I don't know if they can win a game. I don't know. I don't know how good this team really is.
Yeah, I mean, you list off the opponents that they've played so far, and it's really hard to start believing in the Panthers at this point. So, you really, if you want to look at this from Carolina perspective, this is actually a great test for them, because they're going against a great Eagles defense that we were just talking about. And right now, Cam Newton is playing at a very high level. But with that being said, really his only target on offense right now is Greg Olsen. That's the main guy that he's going after. So, yeah, this is a really a good test for both teams in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I just rattled off all those opponents, but I will say the Seattle game did impress me, because Cam is playing at an NFL MVP level right now. Besides Rodgers and Brady, no quarterback in the league right now is playing better than Cam Newton, which is pretty unbelievable to me. So if you look at last week's game, I mean, there were so many throws that impressed me. You had 3rd and 9s where he would deliver perfect strikes. He's got easy velocity towards the sidelines when he throws the ball. The deep comebacks were going for first downs. He was throwing dimes on the post route. So we're sitting here talking about how the Eagles are a top 5 defense, but you know what? He went on the road in Seattle and beat a top 5 defense, and they put up 27 points. So we're talking about having to hold this team under 20. Well, they just put up 27 on the road against Seattle. So it's going to be a really, really tough task.
Yeah, it's definitely a tall task at hand. And in order to contain Cam Newton, the Eagles are going to have to try to come up with a similar game plan like they did last year on Monday Night Football in Philly, where Connor Barwin played as a spy against Cam Newton. And I think you're going to see a similar type of thing in this game now. To be fair, Cam Newton was not at the top of his game last year. And like you said, he's playing at a very high level right now. So this is going to be a different Cam Newton that we're facing. Another key to this game for the Eagles is hopefully going to be having Kendricks back on the field for this game, because if they want to be able to contain Cam Newton, they're going to have two athletic guys like Barwin and Kendricks on the field. So you're going to look for the Eagles to really spy Cam Newton a lot, show different kind of coverages. And, this is really a true test for this Eagles defense, because this is the first time this season that we're actually facing a running quarterback.
Yeah, kind of talking about this Carolina offense and getting into them a little bit more. They're a team that likes to predominantly run the ball and set up manageable third down situations. They like to hold on to the ball. So they like playing these 8 to 10 possession games, and that's where they're very, very successful. And in a normal NFL game, there's about 12 possessions, and in a Chip Kelly game, it's about 14 to 16, because when you play up tempo, the possessions can get pretty high. So I'm curious to see how many possessions are going to be played in this game, because the more, the better for the Eagles, in my opinion. If there's like 8 to 10 possessions in this game, then that means that Carolina is holding the ball, possessing the ball, picking up third downs. And when they are successful, that's when they win. So if you want a perfect illustration of what this offense can do when they're right, there was a game 2 years ago where the Panthers, they played New England. And I thought this was the best game I've seen Cam play as a pro. If you look at the numbers, they don't jump out at you. He went 19 of 28 for like 200 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He also carried the ball like six or 7 times for like 60-something yards. So in this game against the Patriots, the Panthers scored 24 points, and they only had 7 possessions in the game. So, again, that tells you that they were moving the ball on the ground, and Cam was picking up third downs. So when Cam is at his best, when he's good, he's very accurate on third down. The deep comebacks, the crossing routes, the post patterns, he delivers the ball with accuracy and with ease. It's easy velocity. But when he is off his game, and it does tend to happen sometimes, the ball sails on him. And that's a regular thing that we've seen. We haven't seen it really that much this year. But when he is bad, you can pressure him, and the ball sails on him, and that's where he gets picked off. So we'll see what happens with the Eagles and how they approach it. I guess the question to you now is what do you do? Because you look at last year's game, you brought it up. I believe they turned him over 5 times and they had 9 sacks. So what do they have to do to repeat that? Because obviously, like you said, he is not the same quarterback.
Yeah, well, in order to repeat that, the first thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to stop the Panthers' rushing attack. And I don't think that should be a problem the way the Eagles' defensive line is playing right now. But that's going to be key, because the Eagles are going to have to get the Panthers in these 3rd and about 8, 3rd and 7 situations. So if the Eagles can get the Panthers in those type of situations, and I think they should be all right. But again, it's going to be a game where it's going to come down to our secondary. Our secondary has to play well, and they should be able to play well in this game, considering that the Panthers really don't have that many weapons on offense. Now they have Olsen, like I was talking about, but I think with the way that Jordan Hicks is playing right now, they should be able to contain him. And I also believe that, again, in this game, Barwin is going to be a big factor. Barwin's like really the jack of all trades. And a great illustration of this was last week against the Giants. You saw Barwin, lining up on the line and rushing that way. So you're going to see Barwin being a spy in this game against Cam. So I really think the key is getting the Panthers in those 3rd and long situations.
Yeah, perfect point. Absolutely, what it's going to have to be, because if you're running the ball well, then you're going to have like 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 situations. And when you can do that, obviously it opens up the playbook. If you hit a crossing route, that's a first down. If you hit a hitch, it's a first down. You hit a comeback, it's a first down. But if you have like a 3rd and 8, a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 10, all of a sudden that crossing route, you can make the tackle before the sticks. You hitch route, you make the tackle before the sticks. A deep comeback route, you can even sometimes make that tackle before the sticks. So if you can play, if you can be ahead of the chains on defense, that's what you're going to have to do to beat Cam. I agree with you.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. So, I'm just excited for this game, really for our defense, because I want to see how our defense faces, a running quarterback like Cam Newton, because like I said, it's the first time that we're facing a rushing quarterback this season.
Yeah. I did want to make a point about the wide receivers because, I know they don't have anything there. That you got the rookie, you got Devin Funchess, you got Ted Ginn, you got Philly Brown. I mean, these guys aren't going to jump out at you. It's basically like what McNabb had early on in his career, when he had, Charles Johnson and Todd Pinkston and Nate Brown. So these guys are not going to jump off the board at you. But, I'm watching Cam last week, and I'm watching the coverage that Richard Sherman had on, I believe Ginn it was, on some of these plays. So he's blanketing Ginn, but Cam's accuracy has been so on point this year. And his velocity is so easy and effortless that the ball gets on the receiver in a hurry. So Sherman can have this great blanketing coverage, but when the ball placement is as exceptional as the way Cam's been playing this year, it doesn't matter. So my point is, it really doesn't matter how good these receivers are, because if he's putting the ball in the proper spot, then okay. So he's putting the ball in the proper spot, and it doesn't really matter who he's throwing the ball to. Although it does matter, but like the way he's playing this year, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And the other key point on Cam Newton here is the Eagles have to make sure that they get him out of his rhythm early, because once Cam Newton gets into a rhythm, which he's been in all season, then he's dangerous. But this is one thing that has been a constant trend with Cam Newton throughout his NFL career, is that when he gets down and he starts throwing interceptions, he gets down on himself mentally. So that's a thing with Cam Newton. He's a very mental quarterback. So if you can get him to do some bad things early on in the game, then that will likely carry over to the rest of the game. So it's very, very key for the Eagles to get some interceptions or some turnovers early on in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do think he can be emotionally fragile. So that's where you get to him. And because that's the thing with him, is like once he makes one mistake, then they kind of pile on a little bit. But he hasn't made those mistakes this year. So getting to the defense again, let me just run down a couple numbers here, because there's a bunch of stats that I have here, and the Eagles defense is top 6 in every single one of these things. So, all right, you look at yards per play allowed. The Eagles are 4th in the NFL, 5.0 yards per play. They've got 8 interceptions. That's tied for 3rd in the league. They forced 11 fumbles. That's tied for 4th in the NFL. They've recovered 8 of those fumbles. That's tied for 1st. 16 turnovers forced. That's 2nd in the NFL. Yards per pass attempt allowed, 6.6. That's 6th in the NFL. Opposing quarterback rating allowed, that's 82.2. That's 6th in the NFL. Rushing yards per attempt, 3.5. That's tied for 2nd in the league. Percentage of runs resulting in a first down, 14.4%. Tops in the NFL. Points per game allowed, 18.3. That's 6th in the NFL. But if you want to break it down further, because Chip's teams have more possessions in it, points per drive allowed is 1.37. So that's 3rd in the NFL. And turnovers forced per possession, I believe it's 0.213, and that's 2nd in the league. So all those nifty little numbers for you guys, and Philly is pretty up there in everything.
Yeah, outstanding, really. So, yeah, that just really solidifies what we're saying here about our defense.
Yeah. So I mean, the country doesn't know how good our defense is because the thought process with this team is that it's not a physical team. It's an offensive team. Chip's an offensive guy. Everyone, if the offense is down, then they just assume that our team isn't very good, and they don't realize that our defense is physical. It is very good, and it's just all a matter of perception. And the perception of the country is that we're a finesse team. We're soft. We don't, that's what we are. We're not a defensive physical team, and it's completely wrong.
Yeah, and it's ironic because Chip's first 2 seasons here, it was all about offense, winning with offense. We always like we're all right, score 30 points a game, whatever. Usually our defense can hold up and we'll win the game. But now it's kind of a flip flop situation. We're really talking about the defense here, and you're going to see later on in here our predictions for this game. But we're not talking about the Eagles' offense having to score 30 points a game. We're talking about the Eagles' offense having to only score maybe 20 points to win a game.
Yeah, so it's again, it's like as long as Chip can generate enough points with his offensive line, the Eagles are going to win games. And we're seeing some really, really, really ugly performances with this offense, but we're winning because our defense is so damn good. We're the mini Denver Broncos right now. That's what we are. We're playing like the Broncos. We're just the offensive showing, some of them, they look atrocious, and the Broncos somehow are 6-0, and somehow we're 3-3.
Yeah, duh, exactly right. So how I guess it's time that we have to talk about our offense, and
Yeah.
well, it hasn't been the prettiest. I guess a good way to describe this Eagles offense this year would be very sporadic.
Well, when I think about this game, the number one defense in passer rating allowed were the Jets. They're number one in the NFL. Number two is Carolina. So we're not going to be moving the ball a lot through the air. So basically, what I'm looking for with this game and Sammy Sleeves, I'm expecting the Jets game. In the Jets game, I believe he went 14 of 28, 118, and he had a touchdown. If he can get close to 200 yards, and he throws a touchdown, and he doesn't have any turnovers whatsoever, I will be 100% awesomely happy. Awesomely happy. Because if he doesn't turn the ball over, he throws for 200 yards, I think we win the game.
Yeah, and this is a thing right now. The key in the Giants game was Eagles started to get DeMarco Murray going, and I think moving along in this season here, that's really going to be the key. They have to get DeMarco Murray going because we know that Ryan Matthews can get the job done. He's not the question mark. The question mark has been, for the most part this season, DeMarco Murray, and can he get going? So he showed that he can do it last week, and offensive line is starting to get a lot better in the run blocking, and DeMarco Murray is getting better on those sweep plays. So really, this is turning into a situation where Eagles have to, become a running team. They have to establish that running game, and once they can establish that running game, it'll lead to better things in the passing game.
Yeah, and this game is all about the running game, I think. I think you got to pound the ball down their throats. I think you got to run it at least like 30 to 40 times. I'm expecting a high ratio. I'm expecting like a 60 to 40 run to pass ratio. That's what I want to see in this game. I know how good the Panthers offense or our defense is, but it does seem like our offensive line is turning the corner. It does seem like DeMarco Murray is starting to figure out how to cut and use the offensive line to his advantage, picking his time when they hit the hole. And and being more decisive, not as hesitant. So maybe we're starting to see some, improvements in the run game. I mean, the numbers are saying so. But now you're actually playing another really good defense like the Jets. So can you keep generating traction on the ground? I mean, that's our defense and how we defend Cam and running the ball. Those are the two keys of this game. I don't think Bradford is a really big card in this game. That's the way I kind of look at it. I know like a lot of people are talking about Sam and all that, but I don't really think he's that big of a factor this game unless he's turning the ball over. And that's what I see from that.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. This game is all about getting the running game going, and well, it's going to be one hell of a challenge because the Panthers. I mean, their linebackers are fast, man. Their three linebackers. You got Shaq Thompson, and you got Luke Kuechly, and then you got what am I thinking of? Thomas Davis. So yeah, they're fast. So this, we love the sweep play, and it's been working for us the past few games. But boy, I'll tell you what, Kelsey can't be out there thinking of drinking at the OD in Seattle this game. Kelsey has to be on top of his game, and they're gonna have to do some different formations along the line like they did last game with lining up, Peters and Lane Johnson on the same side. So in order for that sweep play to work in this game, the offensive line is gonna have to be ready to go, and then you're also gonna see, I would imagine, you're gonna see more Matthews in this game.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see, how the Panthers do defending the sweep. I mean, I think they're going to be really, really good against it. But if you look, our most successful play this season in terms of the run game has been the sweep off the left edge where you're running behind Peters and you have Kelsey pulling. And last week, they had Lane Johnson playing some guard. So you got your top three offensive linemen on the same side running to the left. Not a coincidence why this play, the sweep play, would be your most successful one this year, and especially the last couple weeks when Kelsey and Peters, they're both playing better now. But if you look at the strength of this Panthers defense, well, it's going to be stopping that sweep to the left because you got Kuechly. He's an instinctive sideline to sideline linebacker. He's once he diagnoses, he gets to the ball really quickly, takes the proper angle. And, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, our sweep game going up against him. And then you got Thomas Davis on that side as well. So this is the strength of the Panthers defense. And we're going to find out if we can still keep moving the ball against the Panthers running it, then I'm going to be very confident moving forward. I'll just say that. I mean, they just put up, $155, I think it was, against the Giants, the second-ranked run defense in the league. So if they do it again, then shit, Sam doesn't have to throw the ball that much.
Yeah, no, that's for sure, and that's the key, limiting Sam's throws at this point. Speaking of their defense, one thing to keep an eye out moving forward in the week will be the health of Shaq Thompson. Looks like he's got a knee injury right now. Did not practice on Wednesday, so that would really be big if he does not play in this game.
Yeah, I believe he got hurt in the Seattle game. Rookie linebacker for them. I think he's a solid player. So if he doesn't play, you're probably looking at A.J. Klein in there. So I would definitely try to exploit that. You run some sweeps to the right, so I'll be looking for that. We'll see. But again, this goes back to the logic of the offseason with the run game. Now that it's starting to generate some traction, because the philosophy during the offseason was, well, we've got DeMarco Murray, we've got Ryan Matthews, and we've got Darren Sproles. So we're going to run the ball probably about 60% of the time, which is what Chip's teams did at Oregon. And when you do that, you take the pressure off Sam Bradford. And if you're taking the pressure off of him, then all of a sudden he doesn't have as many haters because he's not throwing the ball as much. But he's been forced to throw the ball a lot. because our running game hasn't done anything. And I'm hoping we can get to the point where our running game, we have enough confidence in the running game to go to that 60-40 run ratio and at least close to it, and just keep taking the pressure off of Bradford. Because that to me was the vision of Chip before the year, was to not have him throw the ball that much and kind of let him, reacclimate himself as the weeks keep going on and on. But he's been thrust into the fire because the running game hasn't worked. That's the way I look at it.
No, you're exactly right. And if they can establish this running game, you saw this clearly in the Giants game. What that will allow them to do is, do those play action passes under center. They'll be able to get the ball deep down the field. It'll really open up the passing game. And the other thing that running game opens up is it really opens up the bootleg that they like to run with Sam Bradford. And, that's a play that Sam Bradford really excels at. And the key with that bootleg then is off the bootleg, they can really get the tight ends involved, especially Ertz. So I think that Ertz is going to play a factor in this game too. I think they really got to try to get their tight ends involved. And, it's really, like you said, it's limiting Bradford's throws and really winning with a running game.
Yeah. Run. I talked about this with you before the show started. If you think about what this team should be, I mean, it's a defensive juggernaut. You have a great running game. You should be playing defense, running the ball on first and second down, and you should be playing these low possession games, relying on your defense and all that stuff. But it's not what this is. So now going back to Bradford. You were talking to me and making some points about why you think you're not that worried with Bradford, I guess. So explain to our viewers what your thoughts are on Sammy Sleeves.
Yeah, so I went back and I looked at all these games, and I've come to the conclusion that I don't think that Bradford is a guy that we should be putting a lot of the blame on, because actually, when you look at some of these games, Bradford has done a nice job of bouncing back, and he's actually shown a lot of leadership skills, and that's really key for the quarterback position. So, I am not giving him a pass for these interceptions that he's throwing, especially the red zone interceptions. I mean, it's just unacceptable. But I'm just going to run down some of the games here and show you what I'm talking about. So in the Falcons game, Eagles were down 20-3. Bradford brought the Eagles back. Then with the Eagles down 26-24, he got them in field goal range with 2:27 to go in the game. Missed the kick, Eagles lose. I scratched the Dallas game. Dallas game was just a complete joke. It was a horrible performance by everyone. Then we go to the Jets game. Gets the Eagles out to a 24-0 lead. They're able to hold on. Redskins game. Eagles come back from 13-0 down. And then he gives the Eagles a lead 20-16 early in the fourth quarter. We all know how that ends. The defense couldn't hold up on the final Redskins drive. Then in the Saints game, he overcomes two bad red zone interceptions early on in the game. And then with the score tied at 10-10 early in the third quarter, he leads the Eagles to 29 unanswered points. And finally, the Giants game, the key with the Giants game was that he led two touchdown drives after mistakes by the Giants. So what I'm trying to say here is that Bradford has shown that he can win games, but he's also killing himself with these interceptions. So he's got to stop throwing interceptions, really. But if he can do that, I think he has the qualities to be a successful quarterback in this system.
Yeah, you made some good points there. With the Redskins game, the thing that I always think about is, say we would have gotten the ball back with 2 minutes left. there's no doubt in my mind that Sammy would have gotten the Eagles in position for either a field goal or a touchdown with the way they were moving the ball that day. There were two opportunities where they had a chance to put the game away, and it wasn't because of Sammy that they didn't. It was because Jordan Matthews dropped a pass on a third down, and you had Darren Sproles drop a pass on a third down. And if you move the chains on those two possessions, you would have gotten a field goal at least. So, I mean, he is getting a bad rap. He definitely is. And I will agree with that. It just – the turnovers are rubbing me the wrong way, though. That I will say that, because in a game where it really means something, like this Panthers game, where it might be decided by less than a possession, you can't have those mistakes. So you can get away with it against the Giants and the Saints, but you can't get away with it here. And that's but there have been some signs that I think Eagles fans don't realize either.
Yeah, exactly. So really, what I mean, how I look at it is, all right. It's somewhat of a miracle that we're sitting here at 3-3, first place in the NFC East, especially the way the Eagles' offense played after that Dallas game. It was not looking good. So to be here at 3-3, and considering that Bradford has thrown 9 interceptions and almost half of them coming in the red zone, I think that we should be pretty happy at where we are right now. And really, I think with Bradford, what I'm hoping on here is that he really starts to limit the interceptions. I think that's key. I think if they can get the running game going, I would really like to see Chip rely on Bradford less to try to win games and really rely more on the running game.
Yeah, because a couple weeks ago, we were talking about how we may have to rely on Bradford more because the running game just wasn't showing it. We didn't know if the offensive line could kind of get out of this rut, but they've shown that they can. And because a couple weeks ago, again, like I'm saying, we wanted Bradford to throw the ball, 60% of the time and run the ball 40% of the time. But now that I'm seeing progress in the running game, I'm going back to what we were thinking in the offseason of the 60-40 ratio and taking the pressure off Bradford. So, I'm just praying and hoping that the run game can continue to get better, and because that's the whole key to the offense, everything right now.
Yeah, it really is. So what people really have to take away from this is that Sanchez is not the answer. Only way Sanchez is ever going in for this team this season is if Bradford gets hurt. That's the only way it's going to happen. And we know what we're getting with Sanchez. Really, right now, if Sanchez played the game of his life, he would really give you pretty much about what Bradford is giving you right now. So, the ceiling is a lot higher with Bradford. Bradford can take this team a lot further and achieve a lot more than Sanchez could. So that's what people have to understand with that situation.
I mean, and even when you compare Foles to Bradford, I mean, obviously the trade, the second rounder is the key here. But I think that Bradford has been better this year than Foles, and I think Bradford is more talented than Foles. So, all the shit being talked about, but in the whole scheme of things, I think Bradford is a better option than Foles.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, really, it's an ugly trade when you look at it right now. Both quarterbacks are really struggling big time, so it's not pretty trade either way. But yes, it's definitely. I would say that I would rather have Bradford at this point. I think Bradford has a more potential. You kind of know what you're getting with Foles. I think Bradford, you get that higher ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, Foles has had his moments too. I feel the same way about Foles as I feel about Bradford. I think he's playing better than we think he is. Like Foles has had his moments. He played outstanding against Arizona. I mean, that game he was awesome. So he's had his moments. It's just there's an inconsistency just as we've seen with Bradford. So the key is to be more consistent, and well, you can maintain more consistency when you have a running game, and because what the running game does, like you said, like when you run that play action and the the bootlegs to the right, bootlegs to the left, all of a sudden those receivers are getting more separation because you have to think about as a defender, well, what if they run the ball here? Because when they weren't running the ball well, obviously your main focus isn't stopping the run, it's stopping the pass because you don't need to worry about the run because you got 6 men in the box and you're stopping it easily, but that's not the case anymore.
Yeah. And then, the one more point here about Bradford. I think there's, two guys that we need to talk about that really need to step up to help Bradford out because, let's be honest. Bradford throws to about a few guys in this offense. He throws the one wide receiver, so Jordan Matthews. That's pretty obvious. He throws the one tight end. Usually it's Zach Ertz, and he throws out of the backfield to one of the running backs, usually Sproles on a wheel route. So yeah, I'm looking at Josh Huff. I don't know. The Eagles, so high on this guy. They're like, oh yeah, we love Josh Huff. They love all his abilities, explosiveness. Well, this guy, he's got to start putting together some consistency here because he is Mr. Inconsistent. He gets like 1 or 2 good games a year, but that's not going to cut it. We need him to step up, and the other guy is Aguilar. I know that he's a rookie, but the second half of the season, I think that he's going to have to show a lot more than he has.
You called Huff Mr. Inconsistent. I just call him Mr. Suck because he's not any good. I've never liked him. I've always just had a bad feeling about him. Every time he has the ball in his hands, he huffs, puffs, and blows it away. Even when he somersaulted into the end zone the other week, I thought he was going to lose the ball. But again, it's like going back before the season. All right, so we're like, okay, so we have Jordan Matthews, we have Zach Ertz. Maybe he can take a step forward. He kind of hasn't because Chip's been again using Selleck to block because the offensive line hasn't been doing it. And that's another reason why we're running the ball better because we're using 2 tight end sets and, not as many receivers and patterns. But, again, back to my point, Huff, Aguilar. The key to the year at the wide receiver position was for one of those 2 guys to step up and be the number 2 guy. Hasn't happened. Aguilar gets a little bit of a pass because he's a rookie, but Josh Huff, this is unacceptable, man. Oh boy, I've lost hope on Josh Huff. I have nothing left. I wasn't one of those people that thought he was going to have a big year this year. I've never liked him. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I'm at to the point with Josh Huff where I would literally just put him on the field and say, look, pal, just run straight down the field and go deep. They're trying to run these wide receiver screens with them, trying to get them involved. It's just not working. I think he's a guy that I would try to utilize more in the deep passing game. I can't believe that we're saying this, but Riley Cooper and Miles Austin are playing better than Josh Huff right now.
Wow, dude, you're right. Every time Miles Austin is in the game, where he's actually, it's funny. Whenever he's in the game, that's who Bradford turns to. Maybe Austin should be playing more snaps. That sickens me to say that, but maybe he should be playing more snaps. Aguilar's hurt. What's the status with him? I know you're the Mr. Injury Report guy. Have you been looking at his status?
Yeah, well, I know that Aguilar wasn't. I don't think he practiced yesterday, so I don't know.
I'm going to say he's not going to play.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. I would imagine that he would be a guy that comes back after the bye week. So, yeah, you're really, looking at Cooper and Miles Austin again. But yeah, Miles Austin early on in the season, he was a guy I really was not a fan of. He was doing nothing. But this game against the Giants, he actually played pretty well. So hopefully it's a sign of things that come. But I mean, it's sad that we have to rely on things from Riley Cooper and Miles Austin at this point.
Here's something we haven't discussed yet, and the reason why I want to limit Bradford's pass attempts. Well, Carolina has a guy by the name of Josh Norman as one of their cornerbacks, and he is, oh wow, he's shooting up my quarterback rankings. I'll tell you that right now. The reason why they've been successful, two reasons. Cam Newton is playing at an MVP level, and Josh Norman is quickly becoming a top 10 cornerback in the NFL. 4 interceptions. It seems like he returns every one of them for touchdowns. If you're Bradford, you better stay away from this guy. I don't want to. I don't care. I don't want him throwing the ball to him. I don't want to see it. And Matthews is going to be in the slot anyway, so Matthews isn't going to be on him. So I would just stay away. I mean, this guy, his ball skills are way too exceptional to be throwing at him.
Yeah, so I would definitely avoid Norman Island. He's getting pretty close to Revis Island there, so we don't want to get into that situation. Avoid those islands. Maybe this is a game where we do a little bit of that deep action. Maybe a little Riley Cooper, the deep ball. I mean, look who's at safety back there for the Panthers. Coleman Island.
Well, that's my thinking is when you do throw the ball with Bradford, I mean, sure, you'll have the little dink and dunk stuff, but I'm expecting to see some deep balls in this game. I want to see a lot of them, because all right, so I just talked about Josh Norman. The reason why I would stay away from him is because backs they're not anything. He looks like he's 65, so I would try to exploit that, and by exploiting that, I would go deep and try to split safeties. Because if you look at their safety, they got Roman Harper. I mean, you've seen his hair. He's got the salt and pepper on his head. And, I mean, he's another guy that looks like he's 45. And you have freaking Kurt Coleman. So Kurt Coleman is a starter for them. So you stay away from Josh Norman. You take some deep shots on Charles Tillman. He's lost a step. He's not as fast as he used to be. So you attack vertically down the field. You go against Charles Tillman, and Roman Harper is going to be alongside him. So you got a bunch of ancient dinosaurs. You go after them, deep play action, but the key is going to be to run the ball. So if you can run the ball, then you can hit them deep.
Yep, opens up that deep ball. So, and then, that's it. The deep ball is actually, something that Bradford has been thriving on lately. So, hopefully it's something they can continue to utilize, especially that play action pass from under center, go deep. And, the Eagles always love to talk about with Riley Cooper. Used to play baseball, so he's really good at the deep balls because he uses his baseball, skills. So, whatever. As long as Cooper can just continue catching these passes.
Yeah, I believe Bradford was 3 of 7 against the Giants on the deep ball. Deep ball is passes over 20 yards. So he was 3 of 7. He was 3 of 7 against the Giants. He was 4 of 8 against Washington. He is 7 for 28 on the season. So when you don't include the Giants or Redskins, he's actually 0 for 13 on the deep ball. I think. 3 of 7. 0 of 13, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But it's gotten better.
Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully the deep ball can open up with their safeties in this game.
Yeah, because you had – well, you look at 2 of the last 3 games, 2 of those games, he combined to be 7 of 15. So the deep ball's coming. It's not a coincidence that it's gotten better because the Eagles' run game has gotten better. So, I mean, we'll see. We talk about this Giants game and how poor we played offensively, but when you look at the box score, they did rack up 418 yards. So those 418 yards came from somewhere.
Yeah, well, they came from somewhere because the Eagles were moving the ball. The thing that made the Eagles offense look so bad in that Giants game was penalties, mistakes, like Kelsey snapping the ball above Bradford's head when Bradford's not ready, and then also the interceptions by Bradford. So you throw all that in, it doesn't help. But yeah, the yardage was definitely there.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, let's move on to predictions for the game because we are like already 50 minutes into this thing. So we've been bringing it from the football, and we'll start with Mike. What do you think? Final score of this game?
Yeah, so I think that this is one hell of a matchup. I mean, Sunday Night Football, they really got a good one here. I think that I don't know if people are going to view this as an upset, as the Eagles winning, but I have the Eagles winning this game. It's going to be very, very close. I'm going to go with the Eagles winning 20-17. It's going to be low scoring game, but I think that the Eagles defense shows up again. I think that the Eagles can get somewhat of running game going, and I think Bradford will do just enough. I think that although Bradford, I think he is going to throw an interception, but I think he's going to do just enough to get the job done. But yeah, really, with the Panthers, I think they're kind of overrated. And one of the main reasons why I'm going with the Eagles winning this game is the Panthers are coming off an emotional victory over the Seahawks in Seattle. And it's really tough to come back the next week and have that same emotion.
Yeah, I've got a 20-19 Eagles win. It's funny because like our predictions always seem to be the same. My thought process on this game is the Panthers. I think they're going to move the ball. I think they're going to be successful moving it up and down the field. I think we're going to have like a 10-12 possession game, and the Panthers are going to score on 5 of those possessions, but they're only going to score 1 touchdown. So I've got 4 of them being field goals, which is exemplifies what our defense is: bend but don't break. So I'm expecting that. So I want them to hold them to under 20. Well, I got them at 19. So if you can put the offense in a position where they have to score more than 19 points against this defense, I'll take those chances. And I think what's going to happen, I think Bradford's going to hit on a deep ball for a touchdown. So there's one. And I think the Eagles will have a rushing touchdown as well somewhere. So I'm looking at Bradford like 200 yards through the air, a touchdown, and just don't throw any picks, and we'll win the game. So 20-19, that's what I have. It should be a hell of a game. We're going to be biting our nails. We're going to be doing all that. So it's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, so I guess this is I have to pick our stars of the game, right?
Yeah. I got to pick one. Yeah, pick an underrated guy that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, so I think that this is a game. I think that they finally throw the ball to Ertz. So I think that you're going to see some of that double tight end sets in this game, and I think they're really, if they get some of that running game going, I think you're going to see a lot of that bootleg with Bradford, and I think he's going to find Ertz in this one. I'm going to say that Ertz gets his first touchdown of the season, so that's my pick.
I am going with Stone Cold Miles Austin. Oh yeah,
I like it.
because Josh Huff sucks, and Aguilar is hurt. Cooper, all he does well is block. Sometimes he'll haul in a deep pass. So the whole overlooked name in all of this is Miles Austin, and I think not that he's going to do anything great. I'm thinking like maybe he catches 4 to 5 passes for like 60 yards, and he's going to be the one to haul in the deep touchdown, like a 30-yarder, 40-yarder, something like that. So I'm expecting some hitches, maybe some comebacks, and beat him once deep. So 5 catches, 60 yards, touchdown. I'm gonna Miles Austin, baby. Sickens me, but Miles Austin.
Hey, if it gets the job done, then I like it.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh man. This is going to be a fun game, though. I'm really looking forward to this. It's a test for both teams, a test for our defense, a test for our offense, test all the way around. So, it is difficult to judge how good this Panthers team really is, but it's kind of difficult to also judge how good we are. So it's judgment all the way around, and hopefully after Sunday, hopefully it's an Eagles win.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's an Eagles win because obviously we have the bye week after this. So I think that if we can really pull out a win, no matter if it's by 1 point or 20 points, whatever it is, they got to get the job done and go into the bye week feeling good. And if the Eagles can go into the bye week at 4-3, I really think that would be one hell of an accomplishment considering where they started.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. 4-3, being on the winning end. I said this in the last show. I don't think the Eagles are going to lose until New England. I think they're going to keep finding ways to win. I think, I'm starting to think that this team is like better than people think because of the defense and because and again there's the misperception that this is an offensive team when it's not. We're led by our defense. We were led by our defense last year. No one talked about that either.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they say that, defense wins championships. So maybe, just maybe, in the offseason, like we were talking about, Chip Kelly did a little bit of thinking and he realized that maybe he's got to add some defensive players. And, well, his gambles on defense have really paid off so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at what they did to the Giants. They scored 100. They accumulated 120 yards in their first two possessions, and then only had 127 the rest of the way. So they got shut down, and that's what we're doing. We may get off to a slow start, but once we clamp down, and you don't see much else against us. So, and you look at every game they've played. The Redskins game was the only game where I thought the defense didn't play well, and they still only gave up 23 points in the end. So it's not like it was an awful effort. So every game they've been really, really good, and when you're really, really good defensively, you can allow yourself to make a couple of mistakes on offense, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and also the thing with the defense is, as awful as the Eagles played on offense in that Dallas game, somehow the defense kept us in that game. The defense did about everything possible in the entire world to get the offense going in that Dallas game, but the offense just decided that they didn't want to show up. But yeah, that's the thing with this season is the Eagles are not getting blown out. Even their losses, they're very tight games. So with Chip Kelly as a coach, it's very rare that the Eagles get blown out. So they're going to be in these games. And with after this Panthers game, really the quality of opponents is really not that high. So they should be able to get some type of winning streak going here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the box score of the Giants game, we outgained them by 150. We beat them 27-7. And we're sitting there disappointed, which is just weird. Because if you look at the box score, we dominated them in all facets of the game. It just all that slop on offense just really, really rubbed us the wrong way. But if you look at it, if you really look at it, we dominated the Giants. Yeah, sure, it looked ugly, but we freaking dominated them. We raped them. We mauled them. Manslaughter.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that this will bring me into my final thought here. And my final thought is that I think that we under Chip Kelly, our mind has always been focused on the offense. If the offense doesn't put up a certain amount of points, then we're not satisfied. I think that we almost have to switch our mindset now. And it's almost like we have to go back to the Jim Johnson days. And we have to really become a defensive football team because, I was talking about Bradford, and I pointed some things out why I think I'm still optimistic. But I don't think that Bradford's going to be doing anything great here going forward. So it's going to have to be, won by the defense. So that's what I think. We have to really switch our mindset.
What you just said is a perfect illustration of why we all felt so terrible about the outcome of the Giants game, because that's what everyone wants to talk about is the offense. And when they don't play well, we just assume that we don't play well as the whole team. But when you break it down like this, 4 facets of the game that you have to play well. Well, 5 if you want to count special teams. But you want to run the ball, you want to throw the ball, you want to stop the run, and you want to stop the pass. Defensively, we stopped the pass, we stopped the run. Offensively, we ran the ball. So 3 of the 4 facets we did really, really well. And if you want to look at special teams, okay, then 4 or 5 facets we did really, really well against the Giants. And, I'm even though I'm still disappointed in the performance, you look at that, 4 or 5 phases we dominated in.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that, I was the same way. I was definitely, not as happy as I should have been about the Giants win. But then that's why I really had to sit down and think about it this week. And that's why I came up with my final thoughts about, we have to kind of switch our mindset here because, this isn't going to be the offensive juggernaut this season. We're not going to be going out there and scoring all these points. It's going to have to be won by defense. And with all the facts that we've stated in the show, I think that people should have a very positive outlook going forward with this defense.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep holding opponents to under 20 points, they're going to win a lot of games. I mean, Chip's mind won't allow them to score less than 20 points.
Yeah, no, that's how I look at it too. So, in most games, Chip's going to find a way to at least get him to 20 points. So, the defense can hold a team to under 20. They score at least 20, then hey, Eagles win. So, yeah, I think that going forward, we should be positive, and we should be positive about the Giants win because in reality, we were 0-2 in division going into that game. So that was definitely a good step forward.
Yeah. So, all right. With that being said, that's Mike Owens. I'm Adrian Fetke. We're already over an hour in, so we got to end this thing. We're out of here. Later.
See ya.